In part 6 of the 2026 Miami Hurricane opponent preview series, I will preview the Florida State Seminoles, our opponent, at Hard Rock Stadium on October 17th. Well, why has Florida State gone 7-18 in its last 25 games? I mean, this isn't all that hard. The bottom line is they just haven't been good. Yeah, very glib, but for a superpower program that's supposed to be playing for national titles, that's the problem. There's not enough talent. Mike Norvell and the team are under more pressure than ever to succeed this year, and failure could lead to major changes in the program. See, FSU's usual measure of success involves vying for championships and attracting top recruits, but the Noles are not in that situation right now. Is it possible for them to return to that level? Yes, but significant changes are needed quickly. What will success mean for the program in 2026? That's a good question. To answer that, let's start with the offense. Despite the criticism the team faced last year, FSU, under former offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn, had the best statistical offense in the ACC by a significant margin. They averaged 12 more yards per game than Georgia Tech and nearly 50 yards more than Duke, being the only team in the conference to exceed 200 rushing yards per game. Now, Tim Harris Jr. is moving up from wide receivers coach to become the new OC in Tallahassee. While Norvell will take on a significant role, ensuring the offense remains potent, it may be different, but don't make their mistake for weaknesses. This team will still be dangerous. Now, the passing game is set to improve. While it hasn't been completely terrible with former quarterback Thomas Castellanos, acquiring Ashton Daniels from Austin, who also played at Stanford, is a significant upgrade. Although he may not have the running ability as Castellanos, Daniels will be much more precise in crucial situations. I mean, being in the SEC will do that to you. Now, the running back will see increased usage now. Castellanos himself was the top rusher for the team, while the remaining carries were shared among several other backs, none of whom surpassed 500 yards. Usmani Kroma averaged 5.7 yards per carry last year, and Samuel Singleton exceeded 7 yards per attempt. Additionally, Quintravion Wisner, a seasoned 200-pound player from Texas, adds more power to that running back room. The receiving core is set to make a strong return. Yes, they lost LaWayne McCoy to Louisville, but Deuce Robinson led the team with 56 receptions, averaging 19 yards per catch, and Makai Danzy returns after averaging more than 21 yards per catch. And you add in Desario Riles from East Carolina, and that's a big upgrade right there. That receiving room will be better. Let's go to the offensive line. They must be more reliable, and it must improve. Yes, it did okay last year for the run game, but when it came to protecting the passer, it struggled, and that's mainly because Castellanos was a runner, mostly. Now, they added a big piece to that offensive line, a 6'8", 354-pound Xavier Chaplin, who came over from Auburn, and he'll be on the left side, along with 6'5", 309-pound Chimidia Naiwanu from Stephen F. Austin on the right side. However, aside from Chaplin, the rest of the offense needs to find the right starting five on that line. Is Ashton Daniels truly prepared to excel? Now, he did his best thing while at Stanford, but he threw a lot of picks. And he wasn't the primary quarterback for Auburn for most of the season. Remember, Jackson Arnold? And his performance was inconsistent. Yes, he shone brightly in a victory against Arkansas and in a high-scoring loss to Vanderbilt, but struggled against Kentucky and Alabama. That's why completion percentage is crucial for FSU. This ties into the concerns about Daniels overall. He is talented and will enhance the passing game, but he has only completed 60% of his passes throughout his career. when they were under 61% completion rate. FSU was 1-6 last year, and 2-15 over the past two seasons when it doesn't reach 61% and beyond. In 2024, Quatravion Walker, while at Texas, rushed for 1,000 yards and made 44 receptions, but the previous year he was injured for a while, finishing with nearly 600 rushing yards and 22 catches. He could take a lot of pressure off that offense if he becomes a versatile back when given opportunities. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, the defense performed reasonably well during Tony White's first season there as defensive coordinator. Yes, there were issues with stopping the run, and it failed, and it failed at crucial times last year. But in general, the defense showed significant progress compared to the disappointing performance in 24. The run defense has gotten significantly better, though they struggled in the second half of 2024. But last year, they only allowed 3.6 yards per carry and surrendered over 200 yards on just 3 occasions. The defensive backs are making a few too many tackles in the system, but the talent is returning to maintain this performance, and that starts with the linebacking group. Okay, they should perform just as well. There were significant issues. There was some significant losses, to be sure. More on that in a moment. But getting Makai Gabor from North Carolina and Chris Jones from Southern Miss, that was a positive step in the right direction. The duel of Nicholson and Omar Graham should provide stability there. The pass defense was crucial. They had a 5-1 record when they kept opponents under 60% completion rate. The corners are set to excel and contain the average passing offenses. A significant amount of talent was lost in the portal. They did manage to secure some talent, but mostly maintained their positions without major gains. They did lose Earl Little to Ohio State, Justin Cryer to Texas, and playmaking safety Edward Joseph to Ole Miss. Additionally, for a defensive line that requires more pass rush, losing Amari Williams and Jason Jenkins to Mississippi State and James Williams to Oklahoma State further weakens that depth on that D line. The key points here. This issue has persisted for a number of years now, including during the impressive 23 season. Now, to be fair, last year's defense was much better creating turnovers compared to the 2014, which managed only 6 turnovers that year, but improvement is necessary. There were only 2 fumble recoveries and a total of 14 takeaways. The defensive line needs strong tackles. Darrell Jackson is now with the Jets, and overall, there isn't much size unless you count 326-pound Kevin Wynn and Texas State transfer George Sanders, who must step up. The player to watch on D is Mandrell Desir, defensive end sophomore. They lack standout players. While it might not be poor, it requires a few All-ACC talents to support it. Desir, who is 6'4" and 265, along with his brother Darrell, who is 6'5", 264, need to step up on the D line. And in his first season, Mandrell recorded 30 tackles and 6.5 sacks. Well, the key to the season this year might sound vague. We all know that. But be Florida State. There is a talent present, but not enough for a serious national title run. Consistency, executing everything correctly, and playing with confidence are essential to at least return to the ACC championship conversation. That intimidation factor is gone, yet this program remains a key highlight on the schedule. Okay, they're not the big bad Noles of yesteryear. Okay, but this is still a program. When you see that name, you know you're going to be up for that. They need to be more aggressive on both offense and defense. They got to play with intensity. They got to bring the pass rush, the power, athleticism, and the qualities that define FSU in every single game. And who needs to shine the most? That's got to be Andre Otto, offensive guard. Even with the most dynamic FSU teams succeeded due to the solid foundation. The offensive lines went unrecognized a lot during the glory years, and this one must be more resilient. It begins with increased support from the interior around Otto. He's 6'5", 315. He's a veteran who is stepping in from a rotational role to a more significant position. He has the potential to be a tough, skilled leader, but the main concern remains that running game. While there should be more passing plays, FSU found success when they focused on the run. This strategy should carry on to this year, aiming for a balanced offense, even when it looks different. They were 5-1 when they rushed for 3 touchdowns or more. Their only loss being to Virginia, and they failed to score multiple rushing touchdowns in their 6 defeats. Okay, when they score 3 or more on the ground, they don't lose, and when they don't, they lose. The key matchup for FSU is going to be Louisville on October 9th, a week before they come here for a rivalry game. That Louisville game's on a Friday night. And yes, while the game at Bama will have a lot of attention, along with the matchups against us when they come to Hard Rock on the 17th, Clemson and then FSU, as we're in Florida. While significant, the primary objective must be to excel in the ACC title race, and that won't happen if they can't beat Louisville up in Louisville. What indicates that FSU is poised to be a significant contender again after the last 2 years? Okay. Understand this program was once a symbol of consistent excellence in the 80s and 90s. And I'll dare say maybe early 2000s and 2013 as well. But they have been in a tough stretch with 6 losing seasons in the past 8 years, and there haven't been any major changes this offseason. The Seminoles have the potential to improve, and they have showed some promise at times. The key to perform consistently at a high level every week, even if the talent isn't as strong as it once was. Now, let's look at this from a CANES perspective. Look, we know it's a rivalry game, and there are usually battles with those guys, and we're coming off a bye week on a roll with momentum. This is a likely wounded but dangerous FSU team. But in the end, I think too much firepower, too many weapons, too much experience for the Noles to overcome here. I think in the second half, CANES take care of business and pull away in the second half and not let them back in the game like last year in Tallahassee. When I look at FSU's schedule, honestly, I'm going to go 7-5 in 2026 for FSU. I think they have a winning season. They start the road back. I'm saying 7-5. In part 7 of the series, I will preview the Pittsburgh Panthers.